Actually, when I was very young, I would say everyone, I am from Pluto.
Being a millennial, we will always have longer Netflix to watch lists than I guess anything.
Passion, that burning passion. This is what you call the burning passion, people.
So glad you actually mentioned it. Number one, I love that movie as well.
Oh my God, I mean, people are judging my lifestyle now. With that said, happy birthday to Space Smurfs. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the season 2, episode 9 of Space Smurfs, a podcast where we mostly discuss about space stuff, but also end up rambling about a lot of other topics from K-pop to NFTs. This is your host, Aleena, the potentially spaced out space person, and
your host Pooja, aka the Wandering Stargazer. And we hope you're all having a great week ahead. And for those who are joining us for the first time, we are the podcast team of the Asia Pacific Oceania Space Association, APOSA, which is a sustainable space community development initiative at the Asia Pacific level. And through Space Smurfs, we usually like to bring you different types of topics wrapped in a lot of fun and laughter. And recently, didn't we just celebrate our first year of APOSA, right, Aleena?
yes, exactly. In July, we are also celebrating the first birthday of Space Mouse as well. And I'm more than excited about the upcoming episodes of Space Mouse. And with that said, happy birthday to Space Mouse. I know my voice just cringed, but please bear with it. Yeah. And with that, in the last episode, the cloud computing in space Valley episode, we just talked about how cloud computing is used in space and everything, right? And if you have missed our live session, do check it out on our Instagram. It's there for you guys to view and listen to it. In that live session, I did mention about the deadly combination of cloud computing with something else. Can anyone guess it? Okay.
I think I know what you're talking about, Aleena, and I hope you're not taking the tangent to Marvel again with AI and Jarvis being very cool and how Tony Stark should have remained as a character. I hope you're not going to take that tangent, are you?
No. I mean, we can always save that for a next episode or sometime later. But we are going to talk about something else that Pooja just mentioned. We are going to talk about AI and robotics, and that too in space. Bro, in space. Did you hear that? So before you guys let your imaginations go wild and everything, let me just introduce our expert Smurf here. Right, Pooja?
Absolutely. Today in this episode, we have Dr. Shreya Santra, who is the co-founder and the director of Spaceonova, an assistant professor at the Space Robotics Laboratory at the Tohuku University, and also the director of technology and outreach at Spaceport SARABHAI. Wow, I am really, really honored to invite you, Shreya, to our Space Smurfs podcast. Welcome to this episode.
Thank you, Pooja and Aleena. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure, and I'm really excited about talking about space and robotics and AI with you two.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also have a wonderful opportunity for the audience to interact with Shreya here on this coming Saturday, that is 9th of July, on Instagram at 5:30 p.m. IST. Don't miss out this amazing opportunity that Space Mouse is providing, and ask Shreya your questions and reach out to us. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Shreya will be more than happy to interact with you all, right? And with that mentioned, I think we can begin the smurfing.
Yes. Let me attack you with my first question, Shreya. I was going through your profile and I was really intrigued by your journey. I was hoping you would share more with us about, the trajectory you've taken from like NIT to ISU to your PhD, and like now you're doing so many things. You're an entrepreneur, you're a professor. That's a lot. How did you start and how did you get here? Please tell us more.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. That's a great question to start with. Definitely, like my journey, it started from my school time. So yeah, I was always passionate and intrigued by space. I would go to our school library and just sit for hours with the encyclopedia, looking at those beautiful pictures of cosmos, just like you guys have it on your background. So I was so impressed by those, and I was like always thinking, how do we get to know about these things? How do we solve the mysteries of astronomy and cosmology and all these things? And as I grew up, there were moments when I was like, okay, maybe I should become a doctor, or maybe I should become a something else. But then when I was in my 10th grade, I was like, okay, this is the time I should take a decision. And the first thing that came to my mind was pursuing anything related to space. And that's when I was like, okay, I would either go for space engineering or space sciences, whatever comes, and I'll definitely pursue something in space related. And of course, as you all know, in India, there is this notion of engineering nahi karenge to job kaise milega. So I was told like fundamental science, BSc, not so good option. Rather go for engineering. It was not a very encouraging thing, but yeah, I just followed whatever was told to me, and I was like, okay, NIT, I'll take admission. I was getting NIT after all India examinations and everything. So I took admission at NIT Jamshedpur in electrical and electronics engineering, but I was definitely not like interested in power grids and stuff. But I knew like, okay, if I make my base strong in engineering, I can get into space anyways. So I just studied like electronics and basics of electricals and everything, and I continued to take online courses on edX and Coursera on astronautics and aeronautical engineering. And yeah, this is back in 2011, 12. So at my NIT, the internet connection was really bad and we didn't have Wi-Fi and it was not a digital India. So it was very difficult to continue, looking for opportunities or taking courses online and all that stuff. But yeah, I just knew I wanted to do that. And so during my third year of NIT, I went to do a internship in Bangalore at the Indian Institute of Astrophysics. And that was the main turning point, I would say. Like I got to know many people there in Bangalore who were working in space sector, space science and engineering, both. So that is where I got to know, okay, there are many other opportunities. After the BTech, I can go for masters and higher studies. And because back in NIT, I had no one to look up to. I didn't know what to do after my BTech. So that was a major turning point. And after that, yeah, after I graduated from NIT, I went for ISU because I found this website of ISU and I was like so impressed that, okay, that's so multidisciplinary and everyone can go into space sector. That's incredible. And this is the place I should be. And I was lucky to get a scholarship to get into ISU. So 1 year at ISU, it was a overwhelming experience, honestly. Like it was also my first international exposure. So I got to know people from different background and different culture and getting to, be more holistic, be more understanding as a human also, and also getting to relate to people who are also similar, having the same space passion. So that's something was amazing at ISU. And yeah, ISU just opened up a lot of opportunities, a lot of networking, getting to know so many people, getting to learn so much. I got the opportunity to do internships in space companies, and also SGAC happened. I got to know about Space Generation Advisory Council, which I joined and I'm still part of. I'm an active member. So yeah, that's how my journey has been. And then ISU, then I went to Russia. I studied space engineering in Russia, and then PhD here in Japan. So it's been all over the place. And yeah, I have been lucky to uh, have got a lot of opportunities on the way, mostly because I was open to taking risks and get understanding how the industry works and how to network with people and stay connected.
And also, you are an excellent person with what you do. I mean, you're a pro, actually. You should also mention that.
I try to be.
Right.
I try to be. It's a work in progress.
I mean, for me, what is fascinating is that, I mean, you just mentioned that all this started off in that 2011, 2012, like from an NIT and everything. And I can only imagine that passion that you might have had to figure out, like, without even having a mentor, to find out what ISU is, that getting there. And from there, like, getting there is the first step, I think. From there, you just manage to spread out. And I can only imagine that passion, that burning passion. This is what you call the burning passion, people. This is what you call it. Yeah, Pooja.
Yeah, that's one thing why I do what I do. I don't want people who are in this age, in this 21st century and 22nd century. There are and young professionals and students who are interested in this field, and they don't get mentors, or they don't get someone to look up to. And if you don't see someone, you don't become that. So that's why I try to reach out to more people, like giving talks and the young generation, so that they know that there is some field where they can pursue their dreams.
Absolutely. I find your journey so very inspiring. And I think there have been so many, leapfrog moments that you've had within the journey. But like starting with you being that small girl and just looking up and wanting to go there, I think the fact that you just carried that with you and then then let that fire or like little spark extinguish is a lot. And more than anything, yeah, like you just said, you have to lead. If people don't see an example, they wouldn't know where to follow and how to follow. You have to be the change you want to see in the world, right? And I feel like you are completely definitely that inspiration. And not just that you're giving back in form of your venture, but you're creating more opportunities for youngsters through it, and you're also giving back as a teacher and professor. So that's, I feel, just amazing. I really admire you.
Thank you so much.
I mean, we will talk more in detail about what Pooja just mentioned in this episode. But before going to that, two things. First thing is networking, like what Shreya just mentioned right now. Network with more people if you want to get to know and work with the space industry. Like, I think from my personal experience also, networking is what led me to where I am right now. I mean, yeah, co-hosting the Space Smurfs podcast, but still, networking connects with more opportunity along with just meeting the people out there. So always do use all the networking sites like LinkedIn, or go to workshops or conferences, talk to them, and you will get your way, right? And with that mentioned, I'm pretty sure that despite not having a mentor or someone to guide you, you might have something, you might have had something that inspired you to take up this, like apart from the encyclopedia and something. And I heard from around that you are a big movie fan or a book fan. So I wanted to know, like, what were the movies or books that inspired you to take this journey into space?
Yeah, so that's a great question, actually. Yes, I used to watch a lot of space movies. Definitely when I was young, and even now, I'm a big space muff. I'm that person who works like 9 to 6 p.m., 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on space, and then even after that, I'm like watching space movies, listening to space podcasts, and reading space books. It's like that. It's like space all the time. So it's yeah, the one of the very inspiring movie for me was this October Sky, which was I don't remember which year it was in, but it's about a bunch of these young guys who want to launch the first sounding rocket in US, and all the the hardships that they go through. That was a very inspiring movie for me. And of course other movies like Apollo 13 and also Martian. These movies are of course the classics that inspire me, and also uh, keeps me like thinking how to do that, or how what would happen when we go to Mars, and would we really live like Matt Damon, or would we have a better uh, circumstance, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And talking about the space movies, I think last time when I watched the space, I mean, not the last time, the first time that I watched a space movie was the Gravity, Sandra Bullock's. That was the movie, and I was in high school or something when it came out, somewhere around that. And I saw the movie, and I had a lot of questions like, what if it happens for real? Like, who is going to pay for all these satellites? Like, what about the money that goes? But I never thought I will end up in the space industry. I mean, I didn't, I don't want to talk about how I was in high school, but still, I mean, that space movies do make you think a lot, and it also makes you have a lot of passion and everything. So, yeah, we will move on to the next question, shall we, Pooja?
I would say one more movie which is very inspiring but more recent, The Hidden Figures. It was amazing
Ah,
movie,
That
and
was
I
an
think that
amazing.
requires a mention, Hidden Figures. And I
Absolutely.
also find it's the situation has not changed much. That's a concern. Um, I would say, like, even in the Indian space sector, there are many hidden figures out there who are not in the forefront or the face of the space industry, but actually should be. So that's the movie that really inspires me, and yeah, I hope we'll have a Hidden Figures version of India as well.
yeah,
I am so glad you actually mentioned it. Number one, I love that movie as well. Also, what a wonderful moment to point that out when we have three women from India talking about space industry in the space industry. That I think is the best way to segue it, that, there are things which are changing. And I love to say that, because in APOSA, a majority of the people who are working, we are all women, more women than men, and that's a little bit of an anomaly otherwise in our sector. But I always say that very proudly to Aleena. It makes me feel really great when I see that on our Zoom
Yeah.
calls and sessions like that. Plus, yeah, I'm pretty sure when we talk about hidden figures in India, you and your contributions will definitely make it to the list for sure,
Thank
for
you.
all the great work that you're doing. And
yeah, I haven't
that
watched the movie, but I will definitely add it to my list. I have a lot of things to watch now. Now I feel like, oh my God, I have a lot of things. I mean, recently I saw this
That's a
study.
part of being a millennial. We will always have longer Netflix to watch lists than, I guess,
Yeah,
anything else in life. I think I don't have to bother about my grocery list as much as I have to bother about my to watch list
yeah.
because of the foam I get all around me.
And also a recent study that came out about the pandemic culture that came in was like now people are also trying to get the Netflix list also to zero, not just the mail zero, inbox zero, messages zero, but also the Netflix list.
Yes.
And it's
Oh
more
God.
time consuming than like just sending a reply to an email takes like what? I mean, like maybe maximum half an hour. That's it, right? But Netflix, it's not like that. And I was like, I could totally resonate to that study. And I was like, oh my God, I mean, people are judging my lifestyle now.
Yeah, I don't know about people. I am. Aleena, because I know way too much about your lifestyle by now. Coming back from the tangent for all our people, I have been wondering about this, and I wanted to ask you this question since a long time, and you are the best person to ask this. What is space robotics, and are we already using them? Aren't we? If we are, can you elaborate with some examples for our audience as well? We would love to know that from you.
Yeah, sure. So space robotics, as the name suggests, it's robots for space in space, for space applications basically. And it can be in any form and form, one of the best examples I would say is the Mars rover, the Mars 2020 Perseverance rover, and the Ingenuity quadcopter or octocopter on Mars. That's actually studying the past, present, and future of Mars. So robots are basically the precursor of exploring different world, because we can't just take a risk of sending humans to Mars right now. So as of now, they do not feel loneliness. Maybe in future they when they have the artificial intelligence. And so yeah, that's something. And also it's less risk, uh, less expensive to send a robot than sending humans to do the same task. So all of these come together, and that's why we need robots. And yes, I already answered one of your questions. Like example is of course Perseverance and Ingenuity, but we have many more robots that are being planned for in the next few years that will be launched to Moon and Mars. So like NASA is launching the Viper robot to explore the polar regions of the Moon. There are many private companies coming up that want to launch a small swarm of robots to explore areas on Moon. So it's a very exciting field actually, and it's a very interdisciplinary field as well. Basically, you need people from mechanical, mechatronics, design, also computer science, materials, you name it, and you need it for your robots to work properly. So that's to answer briefly, that's what space robotics is.
Thank you so much for such a concise and precise answer. And especially, I didn't know about the whole interdisciplinary aspect of it. I always assumed that it's very hardcore technical, so like it's hardcore engineer's job. But yeah, now that you mention it, it does make a lot of logical sense to have like a design and so many different elements, in it. Interdisciplinary is always, I think, the best way to move forward. And the more I know about things, I feel a more interdisciplinary approach always helps.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm thinking more of the robots that we see on Earth. Like there are different types of robots, like those who do the surgery and those who clean the house, those who serve food on restaurants and everything. So I mean, I'm sure it's not the same as when we talk about robots in space. I mean, it have different goals and missions, right? So I wanted to ask, how is space robotics different from the robotics that is there on Earth that we see now?
Yeah, so the first thing we need to understand is space is an extreme environment. There's vacuum, microgravity, lots of radiation, thermal conditions are very different in space. So it's not the optimum everything as on Earth. So we have to design our robots in a way that can sustain this extreme environment. So space robotics is nothing but just adapted to the space environment. It's a application of robotics. The basics are the same. The robotics robots are made in the same fundamental way that they are made on Earth. They are programmed, they are designed, and then they are manufactured and everything. But then there comes the extra work for it to operate in space, like making it radiation hardened. Like all the components should be able to withstand the high doses of radiation in space. Then again, redundancy, because we can't go and just fix the robot in space, right? So we need the robot to have this capability of either redundancy, like if a component fails, maybe there is a backup component, or self-repairing. So self-repairing is a big topic that's coming up now for space robots, because the robot should be able to self-repair itself if something goes wrong. Then yeah, basically making it more robust, more independent, more autonomous, because we cannot go and fix it over there if something goes wrong. And yeah, they have different objectives, as you mentioned. Some of the robots, the current robots that are planned in the next 2 to 3 years, those will mostly have the objective of exploring, like collecting, pictures or collecting samples from the planetary surface. Also, if you know, there are robots that are chasing asteroids and collecting samples from asteroids. So Hayabusa 2, which was actually designed in my lab, and then it was manufactured by a consortium of Japanese universities, and it's a JAXA mission. So it went to collect samples from asteroid Ryugu, which looks like a potato-shaped asteroid, and collected the samples, and it came back. So, and the same, like NASA sent another robot called Osiris Rex to collect samples from asteroid Bennu. So like they have many different objectives. Some are also, some robots now are being built for on-orbit servicing. So we know the problem of space debris. There's too much trash in space, and we don't know what to do with those trash, and we cannot burn it even, or cannot throw it in the graveyard orbit. And more satellites are being launched every day, every month. We have so many satellites in the LEO orbit especially. So there are robots coming up that are being built that can fix in case something goes wrong to another spacecraft. So like refueling, reservicing, or replacing the faulty component. So these are like very interesting objectives that space robots do. So there are like servicing, or servicing robots and exploration robots. These are the two categories.
I'm like so interested in this thing right now, because the more I think of it, the more I can feel robots can be of big use in space. And I mean, along with what you just mentioned, I also think robots can be also used for removing the debris itself, like from space. Wow.
Yes. So there are many mechanisms being built where the robots are like designed to capture these debris, like a net, and capture it, or with the arm and capture the debris. So yeah.
Wow. I mean, really amazing. And I think if robotics in space was active already, something, I mean, even though if it was in a movie, something like gravity will not have happened. I mean, like a human getting lost in space, like if we had robots repairing, doing the servicing and everything of a satellite, you don't have to send the astronauts out there to work on it and then eventually get into a very big issue and everything. But yeah, I mean, this
Yeah.
is so cool. Like, wow.
It
And
is cool.
being part,
It is also mind blowing, Aleena, don't you think, in terms of like what we are already being able to do? I mean, what she
yes,
spoke about, landing on asteroids and like the mining and like getting back, I think that is like even like next level things that
exactly.
I don't think we are even seeing in science fiction right now, which I think we should definitely. I hope some film director is listening to us and like taking cues from what Shreya is saying, because she's just gave out like a cool bunch of ideas people can make like films on, which I'm pretty sure people will,
Yeah.
geeks like us will definitely
Really
geek
love.
out.
Yeah, I know. And also being part of this Hayabusa space robot for space mining, actually. And I've heard of it. That's why when I heard the name, I was like, hey, I know that name. Where is it from? And then you explained, I was like, oh, yeah, that's it. And I'm like so proud of you. I mean, I will go around and tell that, hey, like, not to everyone, maybe not everyone will know about Hayabusa, but I will definitely tell all the space people that that Hayabusa thing. I mean, I know a person who worked with that, I know she's in my contacts. Do you want to see it? I can go around and brag now. Wow. It's
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah, I didn't personally work on that
Mhm.
spacecraft because it was already launched or on the verge of launch when I joined the lab, but it was built in our lab. But I work mostly on lunar robotics, so exploration of lunar surface and using swarm robots. So having a team of robots to explore a area so that if one of the robot gets breaks down, we'll still have other robots to do the task, and that kind of
Yeah.
eases the work but also increases the complexity of controlling the entire swarm.
Yeah, and also I think it also goes with maximum coverage. Like you
Yeah,
have a lot of robots, like all the different directions you can manage. I mean, I don't know the technicalities behind all of that, but still, like you can manage to cover a bigger area if we have a swarm of robots. Wow, I'm like so excited right now. Yes.
Absolutely. Just like Shreya mentioned earlier, like everything in our lives is about space. Shreya, I think to some extent we are also like you. I don't know about Aleena because she has a Korean drama to escape to, but I am very much like you, where even if I have to buy jewelry, I want to look out for things which have stars and moon on it. And my all my cousins and my family really tease me like, why do you need stars in everything? And I was like, I can't help it. I'm sorry, I'm obsessed. And I'm going to go. I just am here with my nieces and nephews, and I'm just going to go back and tell them all this story because I'm called Jupiter Auntie now because I try to show them and make them learn solar system.
oh,
So
that
now I'm
that
going to go
reminds
back and
me.
tell them.
Actually, when I was very young, I would say everyone, I am from Pluto. And like, I am from Pluto. I made my cousins and my brother, everyone believe that I am from Pluto. And I go to Pluto once a week to meet my people. And like the space, we have a kind of UFO that lands and comes and takes me and takes. So that
Hey,
was.
thank you for telling me the story. I'm just going to go back and use this on my nieces and nephews, saying I just spoke to my friend who came from a UFO from planet Pluto.
You guys have like so cute stories about all this. Like all my friends just tease me when I'm working in the space industry. Like they just tell me like, okay, she's already in very like spaced out person. Now she's working in the space industry. That's the vibe that they give me. And if I have to fool my younger ones here, then it will. I mean, yeah, it will not work. They are way more. I mean, they are my cousins. They are way more overrated sometimes. But you guys have like so cute stories. I'm like crying on the
Not me.
inside.
I am just being the cute auntie. She is the one who's being cute. She was the one who was innovated that she's come from Pluto, which is amazing. I can just
And
imagine a small
I was
version of
so
Shreya
sad
saying
when
that, and it would sound so cute.
and I was so sad when Pluto was declared a dwarf planet. I'm like, okay, my home.
In solidarity with you, sister.
Oh my
We are
God.
all sad. I feel like Pluto memes are like the top rated memes when we search on Instagram for like astro memes, which I do very often. So Pluto memes never die on the internet.
I mean,
But
the audience out there, I don't have a lot about space. I just work in the space industry and I do love planets and stars, but that's it. I'm not obsessed about it to an extent. I'm
I
obsessed
am
about many other things. If you want to know,
we
no.
will have one special episode for that, Aleena.
K-pop. I will bring the army
Can
bombs.
we have K-pop in space?
Oh yeah, I'm planning to. I'm planning to get involved with the K-pop. All my ideas are going out now. So yeah, let's move on to the next question, shall we?
I have been having this question in my mind while you explained so much about robotics. You know, how much is AI an integral part of this? Like, is it that we have to only use it because all the functions that you're explaining to me, I feel like AI becomes like a very important added layer. So do we always use AI, or like how does it work in terms of space robotics and AI?
So we do use a lot of AI, but there is always a bit of trade-off when it comes to space, because we have limited power and limited mass that we can launch in space. So we need to make a trade-off. If having a AI is actually improving the performance and at the same time not adding much of computational um, burden on the spacecraft itself. But yes, we do use a lot of AI in different applications. Like, for example, as I mentioned, space debris capturing mechanisms. There's a lot of AI used for tracking the debris. So the debris are actually always moving and spinning. So there are certain convolutional neural networks and other deep learning techniques that are being developed to like track these different sized debris itself. Then there is, of course, AI adding more autonomy to the robots, because there is a delay in the communication when we do like teleoperation. So we need to have enough autonomy in the robot so that it can take its own decisions. So it should have that much of intelligence for autonomous navigation, autonomous collection of samples, or in case if there is a obstacle or if there is a power problem or communication problem, it should be able to take the right decision for itself. So that's something where AI comes in. Then there is a lot of AI that is being researched upon. I wouldn't say it's already implemented, but it's being researched upon to train the robots to operate in different terrain. Because, for example, on Mars and Moon, we do not have a GNSS system, right? A positioning system. Yeah. So the robots that are working there, it should be able to like localize themselves. They should be able to position themselves in those environment. Another thing is both Mars and Moon, it's very featureless. So there are just rocks of the same color. Even the soil is of the same color. So they are all featureless. So it adds to the complexity of localization and positioning. So that's where AI and image segmentation and different kind of image processing and computer vision comes into the picture, where the robot itself can understand its environment and navigate in the environment. So AI is still a very niche field in space right now, especially in the robotics sector. But I believe it's going to be very common. But AI is being used quite a lot, especially in satellite communication. and satellite image processing. For a lot of companies are using satellite data and adding a lot of artificial intelligence algorithms for monitoring the climatic conditions, monitoring how the temperatures are changing in different, or how the patterns of fishes, patterns of animals migrating. So they are using a lot of AI in that sense. But for robotics, space robotics, it's still a very niche topic, and yeah, lots mostly in the research phase right now.
And I mean, we were talking about AI and robotics, and I think cloud computing will also be included in. I mean, it's a part of it, right? And all I could think about was having the Jarvis on space, like something like that. And yeah, like whoever is going to control, they'll be like, Jarvis, do that. Jarvis, do this. I mean, we will have a different name also, but yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking, and it would be super cool.
Having a butler on moon and being like, yeah, Jarvis, like, bring me cutting chai.
I mean, I wish, we will be able to see all this amazing. I mean, you just mentioned that it's not being researched right now. We have a lot of things to look into. And then there are a lot of challenges also as of now, like getting all this computational stuff on space and regarding the policy part, law part, technological part, and everything. And hopefully, in the coming years, let's see something new happening with this AI and space robotics and everything. And it will be so useful for the humanity in general as well, like apart from the particular goals and achievements that they might be having. Like, for example, like I think the most easiest example that I can give right now will be like removing the debris itself. Like it will be of great use, like because everyone use satellite these days. Like there is not a single day that you don't use a particular service from the space assets, right? So debris is one of the biggest hazards that's out there. I mean, well, let's hope. Yeah,
that's one hazard, yes. Also, at the same time, we need to think that we do not do the same thing with Mars and Moon. Just go and trash our debris in these planets and celestial bodies. So we need to make sure that we dispose our trash in a proper way. Have you watched the movie Wall-E? That's on my
Yep.
So you might already know, like Wall-E and Eve, which was the artificial intelligence robot in space. So someday we'll have that, but I hope it will be in a better way.
And like how we have talked about, not to trash or not to be using Moon and Mars and other celestial objects out there in the way that we have been doing so far. And to all the audience out there, there is also an upcoming episode coming up about the lunar activities and also regarding an organization that is involved with all of this. So look out for our next episode, that is the 10th episode as well. And yeah, I mean, with that said, we will move on to the last and the final question of this podcast. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions together, which can be, like you can give like a mixed answer to that. So in the introduction itself, we mentioned that Shreya, you are working with Spaceonova and also other initiatives from SGAC and also she's also working with the Spaceport SARABHAI as well in India. And you are also a assistant professor as well within the AI and space robotics industry. So for the younger generation out there who wants to join this new space domain with the AI and robotics and everything, what are your insights or your few pointers to them, what they can do about it? And also when it comes to the Asia Pacific regional level, like at the international level and also to the Asia Pacific regional level, what are your points about getting into this field and also creating a sustainable framework for AI and space robotics?
Yeah, that's a very good question and something very useful for the younger generation. So how to get into the field? It's the space field itself is very interdisciplinary, as I already mentioned so many times. So if you want to get into the space field, so first of all, start with like being aware of what's going on, like attend different workshops or listen to the podcasts and these kind of webinars where you get to know people, and usually you will find their LinkedIn profile um, or their work on the internet, and then you can connect with these people and get to know how if your profile is good enough to get into this field. Then of course upskill yourself. If you are good in a certain field, good, but also try to learn more and try to get to if you are good in mechanical or say electrical, how can you apply that knowledge to something? So that's where space comes in. Space is an application based industry where you apply your knowledge of fundamentals. So yes, learn about astronautics, robotics, uh, astronomy. There's so many new fields coming up now that's related to space, astrobiology. And so it doesn't matter what is your background, whether it's geology or history. Even actually, there is also something called astroarchaeology. So that's like amazing. It's
What? Astro?
astroarchaeology. So you
So you just
basically
It's one of my favorite subjects, actually. And there's also ethnoastronomy, which is amazing.
Yeah.
please stop saying all these new terms. I'm just getting so clueless. Oh my god. I mean,
Yeah, like it just opens up a lot of fields for everyone.
wow.
So just keep exploring, and of course, if there are opportunities where you can upskill yourself, like for example, Spaceonova, which is where I am the co-founder and director. We run programs on space robotics and AI and astrobiology. So we do research internships. Also, we have specially curated courses where industry experts actually teach you. Industry experts who are working in the space robotics field, they are actually teaching you about their work. So that's about Spaceonova. Of course, there is SSCRD who also have different space related courses. There are different organizations that you can join, like the Moon Village Association. Then there is the Space Generation Advisory Council. I can vouch for Space Generation Advisory Council. I have been part of this organization, and it's a voluntary organization. You can join it and be part of the different project groups, and of course publish your papers in different conferences, and you get to know people when you get to these conferences. That's yes. Other than that, if you are from law and policy background, again, you have a lot of opportunities in space, because we need lawyers and policymakers as well. So through Spaceport SARABHAI, that's what we are trying to do. We are Spaceport SARABHAI. It's a think tank where we are trying to accelerate the presence of India in the international platform, and taking the voice of Indian space sector so to international platforms, and also at the same time trying to accelerate the new space economy, and be a part of how the policies are drafted, and the law the activities, and the space activity bills and all that. So that's something we are doing at the Spaceport SARABHAI. Yeah, so as I mentioned, there's so many avenues for you to explore, no matter which background you are from. And especially for the Asia Pacific sustainable space sustainability, yes, most of the countries in Asia Pacific region are now emerging space nations. So whether it's Australia, Singapore, Thailand, they all are like they're just starting out, and it's very important to actually build a workforce and you know make them capable of
Yeah.
to continue and to sustainably continue their space activities. So uh, I think Japan is a great example in that sector. Japan really has many programs where they train these Asia Pacific students from the Asia Pacific countries, like even Nepal, Bhutan, uh, Sri Lanka, and Philippines, and all these countries. Students are brought here in Japan, and they are trained on actual space missions to launch their satellites, and then they go back to their countries, and then
Mm.
they build their missions. That's I think India also has some of these programs where they train students from the South Asian countries.
Yeah.
So mostly in like using satellite data for disaster management uh,
Mm.
objectives. So that's I think this is very important, like cooperation and collaboration in the region, which will actually help in sustainable space exploration.
Yeah, and absolutely. And along with that, I would also like to mention about APOSA as well, which is also working in the Asia Pacific regional sector. And we are also trying to, like how Shreya mentioned, to sustain, to develop this friendship and collaboration within the Asia Pacific region. And in case if you are interested, I will also link the links to all the organizations that Shreya mentioned right now on the description box. Please make sure to check it out, and also to Aposa as well. So see you guys at Aposa, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm so glad we got a chance to ask you so many questions, Shreya, because it has just been a pleasure listening to you. There were so many new things that came, that even I didn't know about. And I always feel very happy when people mention how people from the arts like me can also pursue things in science and space now. I know when I started off it, I always heard a lot, अरे पर तू तो art student है, तू क्या करेगी space में, initially. But like now that I've being a political science student, being from a policy background, I do work, in outer space politics. That's what my PhD is in. Now that I have started doing that, now people start making some connections. And like you mentioned, there are so many more avenues, like space archaeology and astroarchaeology and ethnoastronomy and so many more things that would just be
Yeah.
amazing for people to be a part of. I am sure our audience is going to have more questions after the number of things we've told them, from space robotics to AI and space to how to get into all these initiatives, the different places you can go ahead and network. So if you have more questions for Shreya, don't forget that we have an interactive session where you can directly ask her questions, right? That's on 9th of July at 5:30 p.m. IST on the Space Smurfs Instagram profile, which will be linked in the description box below. So please mark your calendars and come and ask your questions. We would love to answer your questions, and I'm sure Shreya is going to be very happy to answer them as well.
Yes, one last remarks about how science communication or space communication is very important to the thing that you guys are doing, Space Smurfs, APOSA, and also there are many other initiatives, many other science communicators who are trying to communicate. And even Pooja, I follow you on Instagram, and I see your
Oh, thank
pictures of
you.
stargazing and astrophotography. So I'm really very happy to see this this generation of ours actually bringing out all the opportunities that are there, which we kind of missed out when we were in school
Yeah.
or in university. But we need to bring out these and make the current generation more aware of the opportunities. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for having me here, and I'm looking forward to the live interaction session.
With that, with what Shreya mentioned right now, like we are creating an environment for the younger generation out there, which we didn't get when we were in school and colleges, right? And also in the, of course, annual report, which I will link it down below. I have also mentioned this one particular thing, that this popular internet saying that goes around says that be the adult that you needed when you were a child. And I'm so proud that all of us are doing something similar to that in the space industry. Like, we are trying to give the younger generation out there for the better future of space, of what we needed when we were in that stage, like we were at that turning point. And I'm so glad that we could do this session with you, Shreya. I mean, with the Spaceonova and Spaceport SARABHAI and all the other activities that you are doing with STAC and everything. I mean, I'm really, really happy and grateful that you could join us today. With that mentioned, I will see you guys on the interactive session happening on this Saturday. Until then, this is your host, Aleena.
And this is your host, Pooja, aka the Wandering Stargazer, signing off.
Signing out. Bye bye.
Bye. See you.